Hey there, it's Michael from Bee Ninjas. In this video, I'm going to talk through some of the key concepts of the book Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. Now, Mike's borrowed a bunch of concepts from the fitness and dieting industry and applied them to running a business. They're kind of human behavioral principles that are designed to work with our existing behaviors and not against them. So it's designed to help give you some clarity and control over where the cash is flowing in your business. And it's a really simple system that you can implement yourself or you can get help to do. It's a really malleable system. It works across a bunch of different business models and sizes. And in this presentation, I'll talk through in depth some of those core concepts in a little bit more detail. And I'll also answer the burning question, which is, why am I holding an empty tube of toothpaste? All will be revealed, and let's dive into the slides now.
The reality for a lot of entrepreneurs is that they're using their bank balances to check how their business is doing. So they may not be logging into Zero regularly, or their Zero might not be updated or correct. So the barometer for how their business is doing is actually bank balances. This cash flow management system basically sets up a bunch of new bank accounts and helps you apportion different funds across a bunch of bank accounts to make sure you've got cash set aside for the various needs in your business. It's meant that you can operate this from your banking app and you don't need any sort of fancy software to help you manage this stuff. And it means that it's a lot easier for you to see how the business is doing. So the old formula for a profit and loss is sales less all your expenses. What's left over is your profit. The new formula that the author Mike is suggesting is from your sales, first you must reserve a portion for profit, making you profitable immediately. And what you have left over, you have to spend on expenses. So it's a revolutionary way of flipping this equation to make sure that your business is permanently profitable and that it's growing in the right way and it's sustainable. It's based on Parkinson's law, which is that work will expand to fit the time available. So if you're given an assessment and you're told that you've got a week to complete it, you'll complete it in a week. Whereas if you're told you've got to complete an assessment in a day, you'll get it done. And studies have shown that actually the quality is somewhat comparable depending on the time that you're given. So the way this applies to you as the entrepreneur is that if you've got a bank account with $100,000 in it, you'll probably find a way to spend that. But if you apportion out this 100,000 into different buckets, you're more likely not to spend all of that amount because it's set aside for various things and it plays with human nature in that way. So this system was inspired by the fitness industry, funnily enough, and it's about being financially fit. I'm going to run through all of these things, which is using plates, eating your veggies first, removing temptation, and doing it often. So all of these concepts are very relevant in the actual fitness or dieting world, but this is now being applied to your finances. So the key aspect of this is number one, small plates. So the dieting trick is that if you want to lose a bit of weight, don't have such huge dinner plates. Have a smaller plate, you'll serve less and you'll eat less. That is the same with breaking up that 100,000 I spoke about into different bank accounts and apportioning it to the various needs of your business. This will obviously leave less in your operating expenses account, which you have to spend on all the various needs your business has. That means you're a lot less likely to spend way too much money on a sales and marketing effort that doesn't really get you much value, or investing in a new subscription that may not be 100% needed right now. It hones down these erratic spending because it only gives you a small amount to play with. Law number two is eating your veggies first. So the dieting principle is obviously eat your veggies before you get all the fun stuff on your plate. That means that you're filling yourself up with healthy things. Same goes for profit first. The order in which you allocate into these different bank accounts really matters. So the system is called profit first because once all your money accumulates in your income bank account, which I'll explain in a sec, The first account you allocate to is profit. You are taking your profit first, and then you remove a little bit for your owner's pay, you put some aside for tax, and what you have left, you have to spend on your operating expenses. So it's making sure that you're permanently profitable by setting aside those funds straight away. The old cookie jar. Rule number 3, this one's fairly easy to explain. Out of sight, out of mind. Don't buy cookies or don't leave them on the bench. That's the dieting tip. And the way this works with Profit First is that you're obviously setting aside funds into different bank accounts or buckets, and you're also setting aside the funds for your profit and taxes in another bank account, in a separate banking institution. So it's actually, when you log into your banking app, you're not even going to see some of these funds that you've saved. So it's removing the temptation to steal from other accounts and making sure that that money is used for the purpose that it was intended for. Again, it's all trying to play with our human behaviors, not work against them. Frequency. This is the 4th and final key rule in Profit First. The allocation schedule that you set up should work with your business, and it's similar with fitness, how you should be exercising regularly and scheduling it. You should be scheduling when you're doing these allocations in Profit First, usually fortnightly. That there's a 10th and 25th of the month, which Mike recommends in the book, but some people do it weekly, some people do it monthly. This is to help you build the habit, and it helps you see the money accumulate in your income account, and you see it waterfall down into the different bank accounts, and you start to see each fortnight or each month, depending on how often you're doing this, how much is accumulating, and you start to get a feel for the cash flow moving through your business. That way you can log into your bank account, midway through a week, have a look at what's already hit there, and you kind of know, all right, I've got enough in my income account, that should cover me for my expenses this month, I'm on track. So it gives you a little bit of peace of mind, this system. So these are the plates based on, the dieting serving tray recommendation. These are the foundational 5 bank accounts. I should note there is more advanced Profit First techniques. So get in touch with me if you want to delve into them. So for e-commerce people, they set up inventory bank accounts. For agencies, I'd recommend setting up a different account for your staff cost or your wages, because that's a big expense of the business. But this is the foundational 5 recommended in the book. Your income account is the serving tray. That is where all of the revenue comes into your bank account. From there, there's pre-allocated apportionments based on a percentage, waterfalling down to your profit, to your owner's pay, which is the wage that you as the owner are drawing from the business. You're also setting aside funds to pay you to meet your income tax requirements. And then what's left after making all of these initial allocations, you have to spend on operating expenses, which will naturally be a smaller amount of money, which will make you a lean, mean, profitable machine. Cool. And so that's what I'm talking about, how this just shows the flow. Deposits flow into your income account, and then you allocate by percentage to your profit, owner's pay, tax, and operating expenses. I should note, if you want to do a really simple version of Profit First, some people just start with a profit account and just allocate 1%. And each fortnight, you're only allocating 1% to it, but it helps you see that figure grow and shows you the power of compounding as you build the habit. And then potentially you can expand out the bank accounts as you go. This is if you don't want to possibly set up all 5 at once. And the out of sight, out of mind, this shows you how there's a second bank account that's recommended to hold your profits and your taxes for the quarter. And that should be set up at a second banking institution to keep it out of sight, out of mind. Because most of the funds left in owner's pay and operating expenses will be spent each fortnight or each month, but the profit and tax will accumulate over the period until when you make the quarterly allocations for profit or when your taxes become due. So that's why it's kept in a separate bank, to keep it out of sight, out of mind. So the percentages I mentioned that waterfall down into the bank accounts, this is a guide for you. This isn't based for all businesses. This is just to show you what a fiscally healthy business of roughly this side is apportioning to each key area of the business. So if a business is doing 0 to 250K, of the 100% of income that's coming into your bank account, 5% should be set aside for profit, 50% should be going to owner's pay or set aside for that, 15% set aside for tax, and then 30% left you have to spend on operating expenses. I've found through helping many people implement this system that sometimes the operating expenses 30% is too low and that needs to be bulked up. Usually the owner's pay will go down a little bit, and it just depends on the business model you have. But these percentages are just a rough guide, I should say. It's not what you should use to implement in your business to begin. When you want to do that, we'll talk about this in the next module, but you need to work out what you're currently spending in these key areas first and slowly work towards these kind of percentages as a goal. Because if you try and jump in and just start paying into these exact percentages, the system will break because it's not based on reality. You need to see what your business is doing currently, but this is a good guide. The 10th and 25th rule is the allocations. So on the 10th of the month and the 25th of the month is when you let all the money in the income account accumulate. And then on the 10th, you'll make these allocations based on the percentage. And then from there, you'll pay all the expenses out from your operating expenses afterwards. Similar on the 25th. The idea of the 10th and the 25th is that if you do it on the 10th of the month and then you run your payroll or you run your AP system, that will give it enough time to hit into your vendors' accounts or into your the people you need to pay by the 15th. And if you do it on the 25th, that will give you enough time for the money to hit in the supplier's account by the 30th, because it gives you a few days for that interbank transfer. This means that you're making your invoice payments on time, because most invoices are usually due on the 15th and the 30th. And then on a quarterly basis, you will distribute the profit that's left over in that profit account, and you should have a look at your percentages, see if you can adjust them, see if you can trim your expenses a little bit, and just make sure that those are at the right levels. So it's used as a system, but it's also quite flexible because it's supposed to be goal setting. And each quarter by quarter, you should be adjusting to get a little bit more profitable and a little bit more streamlined and efficient. Also, there's a way in Profit First to help you crush debt, setting aside funds from here to pay down all of your debts. In the Profit First world, we don't like using debt. It's expensive. Quite often, the credit cards get forgotten and you're paying 17%. So we're looking to eradicate that. And there's a way to do that by setting up a war chest or a vault.